from Mid-County Lanes and Entertainment Center in Middletown, Delaware. This is the Extra Frame Gene Carter's Pro Shop Classic. I'm Phil Brylow. With me today, Graham Fa, PBA Tour champion. And Graham, for the people that missed position round today here at Mid-County Lanes, they missed a lot of excitement, and especially, unfortunately, the demise of E.J. Tackett.
Yeah, EJ was incredible throughout the qualifying part of this event. He averaged over 250 for the original 7 games, and no one was close to that. Unfortunately, he fell a little short today, just missing out. I believe he finished in the 5th position.
5th spot, yes, indeed.
So he just missed out, and today we have these 4 bowlers.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, watching position round, who would have thought Anthony Simonsen would have borrowed your part of the lane the last 2 games to get himself into the #1 seed?
He played every single part of the lane that you can think of. He played the gutter on the right side, he was lopping gutter cap, and he even backed it up for a position round to shoot 268, launch himself into the #1 seed, and I don't know what he's going to do today.
Yeah, it's interesting. He was throwing both backup balls and regular shots during practice, and one guy that's got to be kind of concerned about the backup balls is a man who had a big game to get himself, a couple of big games to get himself into the Stepladder right now, and that's Matt Sanders in the #3 seed.
Yeah, he definitely backdoored his way into this show, but in his own way, he always seems to bowl a big game when he needs it. And, I mean, he was really, like, the 4 bowlers to make this show were all really close together throughout the latter part of match play.
Oh, absolutely. And we're sitting there, we've got Kyle Troup held on in the #4 spot, and we've got Kamron Doyle, guy looking at Rookie of the Year, in the #2 spot. It's going to be an exciting Stepladder finals, and we're going to get to the lanes right now and start with that first match.
Okay, the screens are up. Pick a favorite Sherman. How about hearing it for our finalists?
And here we go with our opening match. Matt Sanders and Kyle Troup. Sanders choosing to start the match on lane 13 on this 42-foot Earl Anthony pattern. And this pattern played pretty tough all weekend long here. And is that urethane that Sanders has in his hand?
Matt is going to throw urethane, it looks like, in this match. He's been throwing that most of the event, although he has had some issues with this ball. His thumb slug actually broke out 3 different times. He is on his 4th thumb hole for this ball. These are not interchangeable thumbs. These are molds and slugs.
Is that just from the glue or the environment around it, the weather? I know it's been warm and humid here all weekend in Delaware. As he'll hook at that 9-pin.
And make that. But I remember in practice his thumb has dropped. They fixed that and it came out. And he only brought 2 molds, so they had to re-mold his thumb during the event, and it looks like it's working so far.
Kyle Troup, first frame. Kyle was our leader going into that position round game and fell to 4th place.
Yeah, great shot by Kyle to start.
And Kyle, he's been in this Stepladder final before a couple of years ago. 4th place finish for Kyle Troup in this Gene Carter Pro Shop event. And Troup, we saw him go to urethane during the match play portion of the tournament. Looks like he's got a reactive resin ball in his hand. And a pretty aggressive one at that.
Yeah, Kyle loves to throw it hard, and I think he needs an aggressive ball with some surface to let him do what he loves to do. And a little off balance, but he was able to trip away the split just for the 4-7.
Shooting cross lane at spares this week for the players seemed to be a bit of an adventure on occasion once the pattern really got broken down. How much could they break this pattern down in 15 minutes of practice to cause problems on spare shooting?
I think spare shooting, you'll see. I don't think we're going to see any missed spares. These guys are great at what they do, and they clean up their mess.
So strike spare for Troup in 2 frames. Matt Sanders, former Rookie of the Year for 2017 season. Of course, he won the Billy Hardwick Extra Frame Open, and he's used to using equipment that might be technologically a bit old, as that Billy Hardwick title won with a plastic ball and a pancake weight block. And there's not much of a weight block in that urethane ball either.
No, but he can make it hook like it does.
And interesting, Kyle Troupe not watching his opponent's pinfall at this time. Keeping it in his own game. Are you a player that watches what's going on with your opponent in match play?
Typically, yeah. I like to see what they do. If I can tell that their look's going away, that I have a chance.
And Sanders, part of that Philadelphia Hitman team that finished in second in the Ocean View at Falmouth PBA League Alliance Cup Finals. Pure. That's all you can say on that shot.
Great shot. Great double. That should loosen up the swing.
For fans and bowlers that are new to flow bowling, what is the advantage of a urethane ball for Matt Sanders right now as compared to the reactive that Kyle Troupe is throwing?
The urethane typically reads the front part of the lane, much more aggressive than reactive resin that Kyle has chosen to start with. And because it reads so aggressively in the front part of the lane, it is much more tame in the back end, and typically if you miss the pocket like Kyle did just there, you leave more makeable spares rather than splits.
Yeah, you said that ball very late angle coming in, 2-4, 8-10, and most likely an open frame for Troupe. That's a tough spare to cover, no doubt about it. And Troupe's going to find himself down early by over 20 pins. How quick did these lanes seem to change this weekend, this Earl Anthony pattern?
They did tend to change pretty quick. You had to stay on top of the moves, and that's just part of the difficulty that the players face this week. Oh, great shot there by Kyle.
The facetious round of applause on the way back, the eye roll, and when you get one of those out of hand where you go, you can't throw it any better than that, can you? And you leave that, that's got to be just disheartening.
No, those are shots you remember for a long time.
So Troupe currently down 26, and that can get extended right now by Sanders with another strike in the fourth frame. Here's our top seed, Anthony Simonsen, taking a quick walk down. It's just kind of ironic with Simonsen throwing those backup balls during match play. He's got to watch both sides of the lane and how things are developing if he's going to do that again in the championship match.
Yeah, I am really interested to see how Simonsen plays in his championship match. He did tell me prior to this event starting that he was working on his backup ball quite a lot, and he wanted to be the first person to ever win a PBA title throwing a backup ball.
Sanders, a fifth place finish earlier this season in Indianapolis in the Go Bowling 60th Anniversary Classic, lost to Shota Kawasoa in that opening match. And that's a game he wants to really forget about because he only had 160 in that game.
Yeah, I look for much more than a 160 from Matt Sanders in the stepladder.
Well, it was kind of odd because we got to the middle games during match play today and the scoring pace really kind of dropped on both sides of the lane. And all of a sudden, game 10 hit and everybody kind of found something again and really started putting up some big numbers. I mean, Sanders had to put up a big number in the last game of Cashers round this morning just to make it into match play. He put up 256 to get inside the number.
Yeah, a lot of the bowlers in the stepladder always stayed near the top. I would say that Matt Sanders would be the one exception to that.
He's really circling that ball to try to get it to come up.
Yeah, it's a little lazy down lane. He's trying to cover a lot of boards. I do know that in practice, Anthony Simonsen was throwing urethane back up on the left side, so that could have something to do with it.
Now, and a lot of people go with the urethane. They see that players usually throw it on shorter patterns and such. They hear 42 feet, why would they throw it on there? And it's just the control part of the equation, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly it. A lot of players like to throw urethane just, you know, to keep their misses small, so more room for error to make spares rather than throw a six-bagger and more risk of splitting.
Urethane make it out of your bag this weekend?
It actually did not. Typically I like to throw urethane, but I felt like if I wanted to be in contention in this tournament, I felt like I had to throw reactive.
Kyle Troupe, 2 titles on the Go Bowling PBA Tour in his career.
Great bounce back strike there for Kyle.
And I assume that was just a better shot and better release than that effort in the third frame of that lane where he 2-4-8-10.
I think he hit that repeat button that he threw on lane 13 where he left that stone 9 pin.
Troupe's best finish in 2018, second in the DHC Japan Invitational, made it to the title match, but Dom Barrett took him down in that match, 267 to 204. Troupe looking to close the deficit to 13. Sixth frame.
Guess the 9 pin didn't go that time.
The 9 teased him again. That's got to be a move now, one would think.
Yeah, I think he's going through the move in his head right now. He has some time to think, well, Matt's going to throw his 2 frames.
And Matt Sanders looking for a little revenge in this match against Kyle Troupe, because if you remember back in the World Championship last year, opening match of that Stepladder Finals, they tied at 248. And then Kyle Troupe won that roll-off 10-7 to advance and send Sanders home in 5th place.
I do believe that Troupe did beat Sanders today in match play as well. So he is definitely looking for revenge on Troupe with this game.
Yeah, game 1, opening game of match play. Troupe 223, Sanders 209. Sanders' match play record today, under 500.
I don't think he won a match in his first 5 games. Uh-oh.
The slow-mo messenger does the job.
That was a great shot that almost turned to a terrible break. But he turned it into a double.
Does that move require, or does that leave almost require an adjustment on Sanders' part? Because he went back to talk to his ball rep pretty quickly after that shot.
I mean, his ball has been a little lazy. If nothing else, you might want to focus on calming down. After a shot like that, wow. Kyle Troupe, 3 in a row, throwing great shots. We're in for a good final.
Yeah, absolutely, and that cuts the deficit back down to 13 pins for Troupe. Problem is, he only has 1 strike on 3 attempts here on lane 13, and that's the lane he's going to end up having to finish on in this match in the 10th frame. So, quality shot here, a necessity for Kyle Troupe. See there, thumb nice and relaxed on the side of the ball with being a 2-handed player, not stretched at all. He kicked the foot up like he likes it, and
no.
He hates it now. Usually you get that foot kick out of Kyle. He thinks it's a great shot, and now it's a must-make at this point in time in the match.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a move off the 9-pin and the 9-pin flash strike. But you did mention that Troupe has to finish on the left lane. I wonder if that was choice by Matt Sanders. Wow.
The kick to the teeth when you're down.
He's been throwing some great shots to come up short.
And we're going to wait a second here until someone turns their cell phone down. It's been a bad occurrence at a few PBA events this summer. Fans, if you're going to show up at a local PBA stop, whether it's the tour or regional tour, please make sure those phones are on vibrate or silent when you enter the building. Sanders looking to lock it up before the 10th frame.
That should about do it.
Yeah, 257 the max. Max for Kyle Troupe, 210.
210. Troupe is not out of it. However, Matt Sanders does need to stay clean to stay ahead.
Yeah, right now a strike here by Sanders would be lockjaws, assuming he doesn't tie his own shoelaces together and set himself on fire in the 10th frame. Anything less, and Troupe could force Sanders to step up in the 10th frame. Looks online.
All right, that should about do it for Matt.
Was there an area of the pocket this week that seemed to carry better for you while you were out there too, Graham?
You know, the light hit did seem, if people could get the light hit to strike, it seemed like they had the advantage. Not a lot of people were able to strike many different ways. So whoever had the most different ways to strike had the advantage.
Now, Kyle Troupe, once again, second time in 3 years, he's going to be going home in 4th place here from Middletown, Delaware.
Kyle actually had missed the practice session this morning in the cashier's round. He had slept through an alarm and raced here just in time to start his first game.
That is a heck of an effort to get all the way through. And now, looking back at it, that 210 that should have been converted in the 8th frame, the bad break and throwing it too well at the spare, is going to be the big difference in this match.
Yeah, you got to feel for him, too. He threw a great shot in the 4th frame, where if that strikes, that's extra pins. And to wrap the 2 around the 10 for the spare attempt, just unfortunate.
So if you're Matt Sanders right now going up in the 10th frame, pretty much a free toss, are you trying a new piece or are you just trying a different line? Or?
I mean, he's thrown urethane for the majority of this tournament, so I imagine he'll stick with that. But if he wants to try resin or even try urethane in a different part of the lane, I mean, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, he's been talking it over with his ball rep on the side during these last couple of shots by Kyle Troupe. And Kyle, that's going to be his second top 5 finish of the year. But Kyle's still looking for his first Go Bowling PBA Tour title since winning the Roth-Holman Doubles in Portland in 2017. Matt Sanders, one regional title to his credit to go with his Billy Hardwick title. So we're going to let Sanders finish out this game. The match no longer in doubt, and Kamron Doyle will come on. He'll get some practice. It'll be our number 2 seed, Kamron Doyle, against our number 3 seed, Matt Sanders, as the Gene Carter's Pro Shop Classic Stepladder rolls on.
Okay, Matt Sanders defeats Kyle Troupe 256 to 210 for 2 semifinals.
And after our opening stepladder match, where Matt Sanders defeated Kyle Troupe 256 to 210, Kamron Doyle, our number 2 seed, comes on. And interesting, once again, the higher seed chooses to start the match. And we get a choice on the stepladder, Graham. What's your favorite choice? You want to end it after you know what you need, or you want your opponent to have that?
Typically, I want to end the match first. I want to put the pressure on my opponent to come through in the 10th frame. Just a 10 pin for Cam.
Yeah, head pin starting to come back across. Couldn't tell it was moving fast, or Russ Mills, the tournament director, to try to get the scoreboard going, or the messenger coming back across the lane for Kamron Doyle.
Yeah, I think Cam might have picked to finish on the right lane just because of the trouble that Kyle Troupe seemed to have on the left lane.
And the interesting grip that Kamron Doyle uses, it looks like that ring finger's dropped a little bit.
Yeah, I believe Cam uses the Sarge Easter grip. I think he switched to that maybe a year ago.
Is there an advantage to a player for having that type of grip, or is it just a comfort factor?
I think it's a comfort factor. Yeah, if the ball feels better in your hand that way, then, I mean, that's why people have their own grips.
Sanders only, other than the fill ball, only 2 non-strikes in his opening match, and he really gets under that ball at setup. You talk about, some people talk about how Jacob Buttriff can get under the bowling ball. Sanders really gets under, and he does at the start, the setup.
Yeah, you're right about the similarities between him and Buttriff. They do similar things, but, I mean, their ball rolls are quite different. But they can both make that urethane ball hook.
And the chamois to the urethane ball, we see so many people, so many players out here in the PBA Tour that don't use a towel anymore. They use those leather chamois to clean the bowling ball surface. And Sanders keeps the score sheet clean with another spare.
Another fun fact about Matt Sanders, the luck he's having this weekend outside of bowling is not great. He had hit a deer just 2 nights ago after the qualifying block. And he is my ride home.
Oh.
So luckily the car is fine and we can drive home.
Yeah, you guys have to get yourself to Coldwater, Ohio next week as well for that next stop on the Extra Frame Tour, the
Yes.
Ken Fell Group Classic.
Another event that we always look forward to over in Coldwater.
That is one event where you know walking in the door that you are going to get your brains beat out for 8 games of qualifying.
Spares are a premium in that building.
Other times, that's an advantage for a player to not clean it off the bowling ball. We always see the players toweling it off. And would there be an advantage in not toweling the bowling ball off? I can't think of one.
I mean, it could just be pre-shot routine as well.
Okay.
If a bowler loves to wipe the oil off, it could just be a comfort thing. But I feel like with the urethane ball, typically you want the ball to read up front, so you don't want as little oil on the ball as possible.
And a lot of players keeping that rosin bag in their pocket for the grip. And out here on the PBA Tour, you can't leave those rosin bags just laying around willy-nilly. They have to be in a certain area, don't they?
I believe so. I don't use rosin myself, so
Okay.
I don't get in trouble. It's my way of making sure I don't get fined.
Match all square after 2. Doyle looking for the double in the 3rd. That didn't look good at release, like he kind of circled it a bit.
Yeah, and typically Cameron's been hooking the lane a little more than what he is right now. He's playing very straight for what he has been doing throughout the entire event. So he must see something on this pair that he hasn't seen all weekend.
Apparently he didn't see something in that ball reaction that he hadn't seen in a few frames either, because he stared down that 3-6-10, and we've seen a lot of chops during match play today. We even saw some chops of 2-4s by right-handers.
Covers that.
Every time you have a 2-4-7 on the lane, Graham, you must have a big exhale once you let that ball go, trying to cover it up.
I only exhale if it's going in the right direction.
Sanders can double, take a 10-pin lead. 2-time NAIA All-American and Conference Player of the Year in college. And back in high school in Indiana, 2-time state bowling champion. And with shots like that, you can see why there's a lot of titles already in this young man's career.
Yeah, he is extremely talented. He can do a lot of things to the bowling ball, and he is having success early on the PBA Tour.
Sanders had a chance for his 3rd PBA 300 game earlier today, but single pin thwarted him late in that attempt.
Now, what's interesting about these two bowlers is they've actually roomed together this entire weekend, along with our tournament leader, Anthony Simonsen. They have all stayed in a bed and breakfast together with a few other bowlers. Oh, nice shot there by Matt. But yes, they've all roomed together this weekend, and Kamron was the last one to show up, so he got to sleep on the couch.
Well, the young guys should always sleep on the couch. All these old guys always get bad backs by the time we're in our mid-20s.
I mean,
Like
Kamron
Matt
being the
Sanders.
young guy, he has had some success early. Kamron is the youngest bowler to cash at a PBA regional, I believe,
He did that when he was 12.
along with the youngest to cash at the U.S. Open.
Youngest to do it in a major at the age of 14 back in the 2012 U.S. Open. Better off the hand.
And that one
But
comes up light.
Wow. And is that a puzzled look right now? Like, I thought I threw it better than that?
Yeah, he was throwing some great shots in warm-up, and something must be changing in his ball reaction.
That's one thing with out here on the PBA Tour. You don't look at just the side-to-side ball motion. You're looking at what that ball is doing from the foul line all the way through the pins.
Right, and his shot on the left lane seemed to hook much sooner than his shot on the right lane just did.
Now, we saw some single pin issues for Kamron Doyle earlier today. No problem with that particular pin as Kyle Troupe makes the run in on screen, retrieves the beverage, and glad handing after his fourth place finish.
Now, if Kamron doesn't make this pair of lanes look any nicer, that might add a couple thoughts into Anthony Simonsen's head coming into the championship match.
I think it's awesome that he just thought about it, used his brain, and said, I have 40 boards on a lane to use, and I'm going to use all 40 of them today if I have to.
That did not look like one of Cam's best shots, and unfortunately for him, he is getting punished.
That you see right there, it's hanging on the right, and there's only 18 foot of dry at the end of this Earl Anthony pattern, and even reactive resin balls can possibly put a little oil down the lane, and especially take it off in the mid lane, and then you get some really funky ball reaction.
Yeah, this early in the match, I think Cam has to go for it.
Got a shot.
Great spare by Cam. Keeps him in the match. Just well executed.
You don't get to the level that Kamron Doyle has gotten to in bowling with a bad spare game. And he shows he's probably left thousands of 2-4-10s in his young career. And that is a huge conversion at this point in the match. Problem is, Matt Sanders is just kind of making strikes a thing right now. Get the lead out.
Another great shot. He is lined up on that right lane.
That leads out to 34 right now for Sanders. And it's got to help his confidence if he can keep putting opponents away early. He had that match against Troupe locked up after 9 frames, and if he can put a match away early here against Kamron Doyle, that's going to add some confidence getting into that championship match. And that's probably going to keep the swing nice and loose. Doesn't look like he's really made much of a move on the approach on lane 13 this entire time. Can see him right from the back.
Oh, great shot there. Probably moved just a little bit after his high flush strike earlier on that lane.
He's maybe moved a board to the left. So is that because of the urethane that he actually moved a little farther outside?
Yeah, urethane balls typically carry oil down the lane, which causes your ball reaction to be a lot straighter at the back part and actually hook less. So for him to move further left into the friction, that's his way of getting his ball to hook more.
Okay. Is that a spare? Is that polyester? It looks
That-
scuffed.
That is a plastic spare ball, and that's missed right. So right after Kamron Doyle makes his split conversion, Matt Sanders opens the door by missing this 7 pin.
and the mental mistake, and he comes back and he's starting to do the timing and the swing.
Yeah, that was a big momentum swing from Cam spare conversion.
And a lot of times for newer players, the bowlers are trying to get better. They start overthinking on the spare, and they seem to hold that bowling ball a little too long in the push away, and they start the feet, and all of a sudden everything can get kind of goofy on them.
Yeah, I think this is a ball change for Cam.
A little more surface, too.
Great shot. After coming in light with the ball previously on that lane, he changes balls to one with a little more surface, and it reads much better.
And one thing a lot of people new to the sport get is they put more surface on the bowling ball, but more surface on the ball does not necessarily mean more overall hook.
Correct. Typically more surface, what that does is it allows the ball to start hooking sooner. So you see a lot smoother reactions with balls with more surface, and that's to try and get more control of your ball reaction. Kind of similar to how the urethane ball hooks early. You put surface on a resin ball to try and simulate that same reaction.
A strike here gets Doyle in the lead by 9 pins.
Great double. Just when you thought the match was going to get out of hand.
He may only be 20 years old, but years of experience bowling worldwide with both Junior Team USA and Team USA let you make those confident moves like we've seen Kamron Doyle do for those last 2 shots. And making that 2-4-10 added just enough confidence to Kamron Doyle to bounce back and keep going.
Well, that shot actually looked a little right for Matt, and it still held line.
He was watching that one all the way through the pin deck.
And that is a good sign for Matt, but not for Kamron.
Well, right now, maximum score, Matt Sanders is 257. Matt Sanders 257. Kamron Doyle can shoot 246. So a strike here gets Sanders back in the lead. That lead would be a single pin. If he doubles. And the 6-pin defies the force that is Matt Sanders.
Now that looks like a good shot for Matt too. That was a well-executed shot. I think he's starting to have a little bit of an issue on that left lane.
And once again, left lane is the lane that Matt Sanders is going to have to finish on for this match. Needs to get there, and it does. Takes the scenic route at the 6. And now Kamron Doyle can get in the driver's seat with a double in the 8th and 9th and stretch that string out to 4 in a row.
Now these next 2 frames for Kamron are really, really important for him. He's already on the double, looking to get back into this match even more and take the lead.
And he's taking a little extra time on the shot. And you can't blame him one bit. That is a stretched and tight thumb hole for Doyle.
Great shot. What a ball change. I mean, I know we've said he is only 20 years old, but he has bowled many games in his lifetime.
No,
He actually grew up with a bowling lane, at least one bowling lane in his house.
Look at how steady that head is all the way through the approach. Not losing focus on that target at all. And right now, Kamron Doyle can really put it to Matt Sanders. Doyle can go up by 19 with a strike here in the 9th.
What a shot.
By 11 for Doyle.
On the lane that was giving him the most trouble, he makes a ball change and throws 4 in a row.
And Doyle knows no matter what Sanders does, Doyle has a chance to win the match in the 10th frame. Maximum score for Doyle, 246. Maximum score for Sanders, 237. Hasn't missed on this lane since the first frame.
Gets the mix hit.
Goes from 6-pin high, steered it all the way down. That shot missed a little left, steered it all the way down and gets the light mixer.
We'll see if he can figure out this left lane for this 10th frame.
Well, you go ring 7, 6-pin high.
And the problem with being so close to striking with your shots is that the move's not very big. So you got to make a little move, but you got to make the right little move. Let's see what he does here. Perfect shot.
Just cured it. When you can split the 8 and the 9, it's so pretty to watch. Yes, I said pretty. Look at how loose that swing is, how the fingers just are relaxed at release. For players that are new to the sport, high school players that are watching us on FloBowling, that's the key. Don't grab it on the bottom. Keep it nice and loose and just let that ball tip. Even if you have a urethane in your hand. Strike here. Forces Doyle to strike first ball of the 10th.
Splits the 8-9 again.
Count here is huge. Last thing that Matt Sanders wants to see here is an 8 count or less.
No, 9 count or strike will keep him ahead of Kamron Doyle in terms of count. However, there is nothing that Matt Sanders can do to guarantee a win in this match.
This can force Doyle to double, and it's going to do that.
That's all right. So Kamron Doyle here in his first ever PBA Stepladder final, looking for a chance to win his first ever match in a championship final.
Last year we had a guy in this Stepladder final, same match, semifinal match, who was had a pretty good 2018 after making his first Stepladder here. The guy's name is Andrew Anderson. I think a few people have gotten to know Andrew a little bit better this year.
I think everyone is knowing Andrew Anderson in the bowling world, if they haven't already.
Eyes of steel.
Andrew also staying at the same Airbnb with these two.
Must double.
Little light, 10-pin. Oh. Goes out in front, and unfortunately for him, that's all they can do in the Stepladder final.
A hell of a rally by Kamron Doyle after the 5th frame to get himself back in a position to win this match when he was down to Matt Sanders early.
Yeah, making that split conversion, getting the guts to make the ball change, executing, and just coming up short this match. Still a well-bowled game for Kamron. He started off a little shaky, didn't quite get his feet underneath him in this pair, but man, once he figured it out, there was no holding back.
But the one thing that drives bowlers more than anything is disappointment. In a situation like this, you know, the first thing Kamron Doyle is going to do is look at what happened right, look at what happened wrong, and make the game better for next week in Coldwater.
Yeah, he has nothing to hang his head around. He bowled great all weekend. Congrats to him.
237, 223 that final. Matt Sanders, Anthony Simonsen. Your championship match coming up after Simonsen's practice. And with the announcement from East Regional Director Russ Mills, we are underway in the championship match here for the Extra Frame Gene Carter's Pro Shop Classic I'm Phil Bradlow, with me in the booth, PBA Tour champion Graham Fahn. Interesting practice session for Anthony Simonsen right there for his 6 shots.
Yes, he has done a combination of backup ball up the left side of the lane with a urethane ball and throwing reactive resin on the right side of the lane.
And you see that shot from earlier today where Simonsen locked up this #1 seed in a match against Kyle Troupe. And the all-important Go Bowling PBA Tour title on the line in this match.
Interesting that Anthony let Matt Sanders finish on the right lane. Throughout this entire telecast, we've come to notice that Matt's issues have been on the left lane. So interesting that Anthony lets him finish on his good lane.
It's the fine balance and sacrifice. You want to finish first and put the pressure on your opponent, but then again, you might put your opponent on their better lane. There's so many gives and takes in this sport. And that time, Sanders takes down the 7-pin, as we saw him miss one in that match against Kamron Doyle. Sanders averaging 243 in his first 2 matches on the stepladder pair. And this pair, according to Sanders, isn't really playing the same.
This is interesting. He has chosen to start with a urethane ball.
And there's the backup. And there's the slice of the 5 into the 10. Any way to win on the PBA Tour.
Now, this just proves how much we as professional bowlers practice. Now, this is not something that Anthony Simonsen has decided to do today. He has practiced for a long time, getting really good at doing this. And it's paid off. I mean, he has the guts to do it in position round and later on in the match play session, and now he's doing it in the championship match for a PBA title.
And you look at the overall ball motion as compared to Sanders, it's like it's on a rope for Simonsen.
Yeah, much straighter for Simonsen. I believe the urethane ball still is drilled for Anthony Simonsen's typically right-handed release, we'll call it. So it will roll differently with him backing it up on the left side of the lane.
And Simonsen mentioned that he bowled a regional out on the West Coast last week, the Tony Reyes Memorial Doubles Tournament. In 6 of the 7 games of match play, he threw this backup ball. Of course, when Jacob Buttriff and his partner led the field by 1,000 pins, it's easy to see why you'd want to move to the left side. Matt Sanders showing no fear, though.
I think we're in for a great championship match.
Just watch that ball ease. And it's that different motion that urethane gives a player that can be a big advantage. And it's not for everyone. By far, I've tried throwing urethane just in a league session myself, and I don't have the speed or rev rate to carry like you guys do out here on the Go Bowling PBA Tour.
It takes so much practice because it causes the lane to transition in such a different way.
Sanders, stay within 10.
Interesting that in the break, Matt Sanders actually talked to us and told us that the left lane was a little tighter. So to me, it looks like it's hooking a little earlier. So it could be that he just moved up closer to the friction, and now it's starting to read a little too early.
Is it tough to change from a urethane ball to a resin ball if you're Matt Sanders at this point, if you think your ball reaction's going bad?
It's extremely tough. Urethane reads so strong in the front part of the lane, and reactive resin is designed to kind of ignore the front part of the lane. So both balls, in theory, are polar opposites. So to go from one ball to the next, you really have to know your equipment.
One of the reasons why Anthony Simonsen also went to the backup bowling ball is these ball returns here at Mid-County Lanes are so far forward as compared to a lot of other bowling centers. There was no room for them to get around the ball return to throw over the left gutter cap.
No, you really didn't see a lot of people go over the gutter cap this weekend, and they were hooking a lot. So, you know, I think you're right about the gutter or the ball return. But Anthony Simonsen starting off with the front 3 in this championship match.
He had 17 in a row at one point today. Or 17 out of 18 in a row at one point today after changing to the backup ball. That's a little right.
Breaks at the split. I mean, it is very impressive to watch him do this. It takes a tremendous athlete to develop the skill set to do that in such a short amount of time.
And how does he shoot the spare now?
Yeah, typically if he's doing the backup ball left-handed, if he leaves a multi-pin spare, I imagine it would not be a typical spare that a right-hander is used to facing.
Yeah, what if he goes light and leaves a 3-5-6? Because either way, there's shot possibilities on that.
Yeah, but I can't imagine the last time I've seen a right-hander shoot that spare.
Sanders now down 19. But this has been the lane he's had no problem striking on today. And that should be good.
Splits the 8-9 again. Let's see if he can figure out the left lane right now to get his first double of the championship match.
Fluid. He could hold that pose all day at the line. One thing I'll watch, if you're a young player watching here on Extra Frame on FloBowling, get that balance locked in.
It's so important.
You never see a Go Bowling PBA Tour player fall off a shot when they throw it well. To get the deficit back down to 9. Fifth frame.
It looked like he moved further right, but that ball is just hooking a little sooner on that left lane compared to the right lane.
Is he possibly anticipating the carry down from Simonsen being on that side and it's not happening?
You know, I don't know. That's not typically I've never had that thought before. So
it's so unusual right now where you're thinking, you're looking at the line that Simonsen's playing, and he's kind of crossing. He's outside at the beginning, but he's inside when the ball really doesn't have a break point for Simonsen. It seems to be playing so straight.
You're right. I mean, though Matt Sanders is throwing urethane, his ball is hooking much further down lane compared to Anthony Simonsen's.
And you just see he's puzzled right now on what's going on in that left lane.
I mean, he's done 3 good shots on that lane, and he hasn't gotten a strike on it yet. He only has 2 more chances.
19, the lead for Simonsen. Can keep it there with the strike in the 5th.
Flat 7 for Anthony.
The advantage is shooting at that 7-pin for him if he shoots with the right-handed. Shoots with a little bit of right-handed hook with the polyester like he's going to. That's mental fortitude to have the confidence to go back and forth with the releases from backup ball to your regular spare release with a little rotation. No problem. Dust it off. That, like I just said, he points to his brain. You got to know what you want to do before you get on the approach. Because if you're on the approach, it's too late, and you're probably going to make a mistake.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier, but you really see Anthony Simonsen wipe the oil off the urethane ball. You see that a lot in players that tend to throw urethane equipment.
Stay up by 18. And now he runs into a 6-pin. And there you see at the back wall, the wall of champions here at Mid-County Lanes. Winner of this match gets their face added to that wall of champions.
Yeah, what a great event that this center puts on. They really do a lot for the players to make it seem like a very prestigious event.
Yeah, Lang Holmquist really puts together a heck of a pro-am for all the fans here on Friday night.
Yeah, we had 3 different pro-ams on Friday night. Full.
Yeah.
It was awesome to see.
And I'm sure a lot of autographs were asked of you and the other PBA players.
Oh, they sure were.
No, just pencil Sanders in for a strike on this lane the way it's been going. Problem is, he's down 17. That's just got to be frustrating for him at this point because he knows he's got room to miss on 14, and you're just off that fraction on 13, and it's a 7 or a 6.
Yeah, and he's made many moves, I'm sure, on the left lane. But the ball keeps reading sooner and sooner on 13. I'm sure he'll figure out a way to get this ball to face the 1-2 the right way.
It's not exactly a mandatory strike here in frame 7, but it's pretty darn close. He can still max at 250 with a punch out.
Well, that was a definite move right, and that ball never hooked.
And that's the fine line sometimes that urethane gives you, as you mentioned earlier.
It carries the oil down, and so when your ball starts hooking too much in the front part of the lane, you have to move into the center part of the lane. And unfortunately, because of the carry down, you open up your angles and it hits the carry down. It's not going to hook. Does not convert the spare.
And Simonsen wasting no time getting up, trying to put this match out of reach.
Well, Matt Sanders can strike up for 216. Strike spare for Anthony Simonsen the rest of the game, and that's 217.
But Simonsen, the last couple of shots, having the fight carry issues. And I think for Simonsen is he doesn't have another ball to go to if this one stops working. Works there.
Great shot. High flush for Anthony on that right lane.
And that just seemed more aggressive on the ball speed.
Just to be able to commit to this game plan, I mean, it just proves what a great competitor he is.
You know, and we mentioned that this pattern's 42 feet long. That ball is hooking long before it hits the 42-foot mark. And it just goes to show that sometimes with these oil patterns, if it's worn away enough or if you have enough surface on the bowling ball, you can kind of negate that oil a little bit. It seems like, or is that more of just Anthony's natural rev rate doing this?
I mean, he does still have rev rate for going back up, but it is nothing compared to his regular release. Oh, that's going to go high. Fortunately for him, he breaks up the split and just a 6-pin spare.
And once again, he's confused because he thought it was a better shot.
Yeah, you can see the front part of the lane deteriorating on that left lane.
And Simonsen gets to finish the match.
It looks like Simonsen's trying to combat it with ball speed, and Matt Sanders did it by moving his feet further right.
Get there. I'm sure that's something that Anthony's going to spend a little more time working on, is going back and forth between that backup release and the spare release. As weeks go on, you see a little quick to the line there because out over the toes on the follow through.
All right, must strike for Matt Sanders, in my opinion, if he wants to win this match.
I can't remember the last time he's missed on this line. It had to be in game 1. Because it wasn't in game 2. And it's not here in game 3 to this point.
Now, I'm starting to see the right lane hooking sooner and sooner as well. Fortunate kick of the 8-pin, but a great shot nonetheless by Matt.
Yeah. Head pinner of the 3-pin came screaming off the sideboard. Take out that 8-pin.
All right, now can he figure out the left lane to set himself up in the 10th frame?
It needs some help.
That looks good.
Oh, I thought it needed some help. Wow. Trying to figure that reaction out from Matt right there.
I mean, I think he threw it good, but it still hooked early.
I thought it needed some help to get down lane, and it just sat up flush pocket.
Yeah, that was not much different than the split he left in the 7th frame, but the ball just hooked feet sooner. Let's see if Anthony can shut him out.
Strike here is help for that.
Looks good. Great shot.
Simonsen asking for one of his 2 authorized re-racks per game during the step ladder. He's going to take a little extra time for himself because he never looked at that rack on the way back.
No, I think he's trying to get his mind right, fully commit to this next shot, whether it's adjustment, strike for Anthony, he wins, or even spare strike, he will win.
Any 20 in the 10th. If he gets that strike, that's going to fill 20 in the 10th for sure, keeping the ball in the lane.
Spare 9, there's a possibility for a tie. Oh no.
And this is going to be a real interesting spare attempt on the lefty bucket.
We touched on this earlier. Any multi-pin leave that Simonsen will, if should he leave one, will not be one he will typically shoot.
And he's going with polyester, which means he's probably going right up the right side. Talk about a gutsy move right here.
These are not thoughts that you want to have in a title match. Makes
Dead
it though.
on. 10's a winner. Get your confidence back after that first ball, though. That's the key.
Well, it looked like he moved further left, similar to what Matt Sanders was doing, but that ball just never hooked for him.
Ten's a win. Anything else? Gives Sanders a chance.
Oh, great shot.
Matt Sanders on the lane. He has kept striking on. Now has a chance to throw 3 more and force a 1-ball roll-off.
What a final we have here. We don't need big scores to have great matches.
This is the stuff when all bowlers are young you think of. I need the 3 to win. I need the 3 to tie and force a roll-off. Give me another chance. Here's that chance for Matt Sanders.
Looks left early.
Oh. And Anthony Simonsen is going to take home this title in the Extra Frame G-Car Pro Shop Classic. Grandpa, thanks again for sitting in the booth with us for the step ladder. You did a great job for us, and hope you get a chance to work with you again. I'm going to get a interview with the first player to throw a backup ball and win a PBA title. You can breathe now, Anthony. You can breathe. What had to be going through your head after that first shot in the 10th frame where you're leaving a spare you've probably never shot at in your career?
It's actually funny. I've been, I wouldn't say messing with this. I've been practicing a little bit over the last few weeks. Bowled a couple events where I did it. So it's actually a spare I've shot at a couple times over last week. I just knew I didn't lose any count on the strike. Make the spare, make a good shot and see what happens. And, I'm happy with how the fill ball went. And, Matt made a great shot himself. And, someday it's just your day.
How does it feel to use pretty much all 40 boards on the lane to win a PBA Tour event?
The guys are the best in the world out here. You got to be creative. I didn't have anything with what I had. People that were here saw the lanes were getting brutal. It was just something that I took a shot in the dark, and I was fortunate enough to bowl a couple good games, and then get away with the win here.
The urethane bowling ball that you used, is that drilled specifically for your backup ball, or is that just something you had in your bag?
No, it's just something I have in my bag. I believe I track fairly close to the same side. It's a little tricky on how that works, but it's just another ball in the arsenal.
Congratulations to the newest Go Bowling PBA Tour champ with Anthony Simonsen, title number 4 in the resume. Congratulations.